writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You're in Wen's world. Abide.
It's really something that's there to help connect us with other people.
That's another confession, too, is that I'm on Tinder.
Honestly, it makes you feel high.
And it's cool, and it's fresh, and it's chocolatey. It's really everything you want in a summertime dessert.
Nice, sweet, chocolatey flavor to it. It's absolutely beautiful. Nice dessert beer as well.
I'm sure somebody could come up with some kind of insidious use of this particular technology.
That great, got 5 kids, everything's going. Let's go on WWE.
English is her 5th language. If she did 50% of the speech, I would be shocked.
Oh, yeah, it's that time. Welcome to Wen's World. Here we go. You know, sometimes you're on your way up to work and you come across the coolest people. Today was a shining example of that. I ran into Mrs. Amber Berry. How are you today? Welcome to Wen's World.
Thank you. I'm great. I'm so happy to meet you.
Amber is a yoga instructor. There's a lot of doubt about yoga, Eastern medicine, because let's face it, most of us were born in America, where Western culture embraces anything but yoga, meditation. On the other hand, we always find a way to embrace what we're taught, which is Western medicine, big pharma and such. So I wanted to bring Amber in here to kind of explain the divide and then bring cohesiveness to the two notions of Western and Eastern medicine working in tandem together. So again, welcome to the show, Amber.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, why you started doing yoga.
Well, I've lived in Atlanta since 1994. I was raised in Washington, D.C., moved here after college, and I found yoga in the late 90s. I had been in a car accident and was doing my rehab at Crawford Long, and they suggested that yoga might help with the chronic pain that I was living with. And so I really was seeking pain relief. I was taking a lot of painkillers at the time and really wanted to be off of those. Took my first yoga class at Concourse Athletic Club. It was the late 90s, and there were not a lot of opportunities to practice yoga in a group. And so I searched and found a class, and it was really hard. I was the least accomplished person in the room. I felt like a fool for a lot of it. But when it was over, I felt so much better than I had when I walked into the room. And there was this voice in my head that said, this is your thing. Like, you have found the thing that's going to help you feel better, relieve your pain. And I knew I would do it for the rest of my life. It was really a very strange thing because I didn't like it on the surface. I was like, I don't like this. I'm not good at it. And I just knew and kept going. So I practiced for several years. I started using videos and books. And at some point, I just felt really called to start teaching the practice because there were not a lot of opportunities for people to learn. And so I walked into an LA Fitness, and you didn't have to be certified back then. There were no teacher training programs. And I said, I want to teach yoga. And they laughed. And then they said, okay, you're hired, because their members have been asking for it. And so I taught my first class without any training. And it was actually 2 days after 9/11, which is another interesting story for another day. And so I taught for a year and a half at LA Fitness, and I built my classes from 2 people to 80 people every Tuesday and Thursday night, and watched a lot of people heal themselves within my class. And I didn't really know enough about the practice to know that that was going to happen for everybody. I knew it happened for me, but it was so interesting to watch people come up to me after class and say, my pain is gone. I've been able to cut back on the medication I take. I had one client who had essential tremor where her hands would shake uncontrollably, and she was able to get off medication for that within 6 months of yoga practice with me. I got certified in 2001 when there finally were some training programs, and I've been teaching ever since. I opened a studio this past fall, last September. We're approaching our 1-year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
West Side Yoga.
Cool.
Thank you. It's really exciting. And I am in partnership with a medical doctor in our building where we work together to teach our clients how to use medical and holistic treatments to improve their health and happiness.
Now, I loved how you brought up the fact that there is a kind of Western approach in your building, right? And you kind of bring the, I wouldn't say opposite, but a different approach to healing. Go into why maybe you think, in your experience, people kind of shy away and maybe turn away from the notion of yoga and go wholeheartedly toward a Western medicine approach.
I think there's several reasons. I think one of them is fear of the unknown. I think another is that we have been sold this bill of goods that fast, cheap, and easy is a better way to live.
Right.
But in our hearts, we know that's not true. We know that anything that is sustainable takes time.
Yeah.
And that slow medicine is usually better medicine, but we want quick relief. And so I think we're very conflicted. But learning this practice is a thing that can help you make peace with all of that and find the healthy life that you really want.
What was it about doing yoga that brought them to a place of healing?
Honestly, it makes you feel high. Like it's a natural mood balancer, and you feel so good afterward. And I always made my classes really fun. I always played fun music and didn't take it too seriously because I wanted to give people permission to let go and not feel self-conscious. And I think when we're given that opportunity to stop worrying about what other people think and can connect with who we are and what we're capable of, that's something that makes you want to keep coming back time and again because you watch yourself grow stronger.
You're going to have your very own show.
I am.
Here on Biz 1190. The name of the show, Crazy Healthy Radio. And you can look for this show Sundays at 12:30 p.m. starting in mid-August. But until that show gets underway, we got to have you back. And maybe you can enlighten Wen's World on the foundations and principles of yoga. Maybe we can go beyond the mat as we get the ball rolling here.
That's a fantastic idea. I'd love to do that.
Connect with Amber on Twitter at Westside Yoga ATL. Check out her website, westsideyoga.net. Amber Berry, this has been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to talk again.
Thank you so much. It's been a joy to be here.
Break!
The out-of-control Atlanta Traffic Watch.
This crosstown traffic is out of control. Chris Monroe, the voice of Atlanta traffic in Wen's World, here with the Wens, the one, the only, Chris Monroe.
Greetings to you, my friend.
Oh, man, always a good day in Wen's World when the greatest traffic reporter known to mankind appears.
Oh, shucks.
And here you are. What is going on that we need to know about across the metro roadways?
You know, one of the things that I think is the scariest out-of-control thing is that 75 on the Northwest Expressway, and I know you know this because you live way up yonder, and you go up the 575 corridor every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's been kind of bad the last couple of weeks, like in the mornings and stuff, through all the construction going on, all that express lane construction. Here's a little thing that I hate to bring you bad news, but school's about to start again. And literally, we've had 40-minute travel times every morning now, Wade Green to the perimeter. It's going to be an hour or an hour 15 every single day from Wade Green to the perimeter once school's back in.
You know, I don't even get this whole school thing. So what's the point? Just stay home and watch soaps. I mean, you're not getting any smarter. Just play Pokemon Go. At least you're getting exercise.
The Price is Right. Judge Judy. That was my lineup.
I mean, there's a lot of math that we can use on The Price is Right. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, why not? They could probably learn more from Sesame Street than they're learning for some of these schools today.
Well, we're learning multiculturalism, Chris, and that's the most important thing that we can learn.
Yes.
I digress. So 75 is a mess, obviously, when I go home and when I come to work. It's bad in both directions, no matter when you're rolling out. It's awful.
And then, of course, they're doing all that work in prep of the Brave Stadium around SunTrust and you know, like this time next year. Hard to believe. Stadium would be open, Braves will be playing there, and we don't know what traffic's going to be like. I mean, there's all sorts of prognostications. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be bad.
Well, at least we have the bad news out of the way. Sometimes the shadows just show us the sunshine that is truly above.
Oh, that is profound.
And today, I just kind of want to shine some light and maybe help you get some stuff off your chest in a very special manner. A time we like to call Chris's Confession.
I want to just let you know right now, and it's just in my heart to let you know that I own a cat, and I am not afraid to tell you that. I know a lot of guys just, are not supposed to have cats, and there's a lot of hatred for cats out there, but I love my cat, Lily. I do.
Is Lily the only feline in the Monroe household? Or do you have more cats and you're just not at that place where you can talk about it yet?
I'm not quite to the crazy cat lady stage yet. I'm probably going to be there. I am certainly on track to be there. I will keep you up to date here on Wynn's World on my crazy cat trajectory, as it would be. But yeah, I love cats. And the reason I say this is I've been scrolling through Tinder lately. That's another confession, too, is that I'm on Tinder. So I've been scrolling through Tinder, and girls hate cats. A lot of them do. Like, if you have a cat, swipe left.
Yeah, I think a lot of women are intimidated by the feline. There's a lot of strength and independence with cats. They're kind of like people that don't talk.
It's very true.
Which makes them seriously dangerous, because it's always the quiet people that you got to worry about. The loud ones, what you see is what you get. But the quiet folks, that's where the danger lurks. Man, I feel you on the cat thing. Chris, you're in good company, because, in Wynn's World, there are two felines that have just stolen my heart.
Ooh.
Shiva, Kamini Somakandakanam, is our second. Of course, my firstborn, Mocha Maxwell, who we got at a shelter in Cherokee County. When we went 10 minutes to close, he was the only cat that got up and rubbed himself up against my leg. And I told my wife, I said, this is the one. She said, he's too scrawny, put him back. And I said, no, this guy needs a home.
You were kind of coming out of the shadows too of the whole cat love. This is a moment, man. I feel a connection with you.
I feel like we're connecting and we're having a breakthrough here.
Kind of a breakdown or something.
Oh yeah, friends, stick with us, because right after this break, we are back with our Southern Summer Recipe and Sud segment, featuring Jenny McCormick Earhart and Aaron the Beer Guy Williams. Stick with us.
Hey, this is the Deegs, the sales energizer. And like you, I'm in Wynn's World. It's a frightening place, but we're here. This is what I want you to do. Listen to the show, the whole show. And then when you're done, go to my website, remedysalesmatch.com. Fill out the subscription form for the newsletter, and I will send you a free book that's going to change your life. The Hitchhiker's Guide to Guaranteed Success. Do it after the show.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
Hey y'all, it's Amber Berry from WestsideYoga.net, and I'm here at Wynn's World, wanting to invite you to come practice yoga with us. We have 60-minute classes 7 days a week. Beginners are always welcome, and we make yoga fun. Connect with me on Twitter at WestsideYogaATL. I'm in Wynn's World, and I love it.
Summer soul food and Sud segment, getting it started with the Southern sister herself, Mrs. Jenny McCormick Earhart. How are you today?
Well, I come here, I talk about food, I'm happy. It's what's not to love.
My sweet tooth is a calling, and you have a very good recipe for some tiramisu. Is that right?
It's more than very good, Joey. It's outstanding. It's it's heaven in a bowl. I'm telling you. In the summertime, especially with this hot weather, it's so nice to have a nice, cool, creamy dessert that's a little bit on the light side. You know what I'm saying? And tiramisu absolutely fits the bill. Now, tiramisu is an Italian word. Do you have any idea what it means?
I actually do not.
Believe it or not, it means pick me up or cheer me up, which is actually perfect considering it's made with coffee.
Nice.
You satisfy your sweet tooth, but you get a little oomph from it also,
yeah.
right? You get a little caffeine jolt.
Perfect for after dinner conversation.
Absolutely delicious. Everyone seems to. I haven't met anybody yet that doesn't love tiramisu. It's not as hard as people think. A couple of little techniques involved. You just want to keep that in mind. Basically, tiramisu is, if I had to break it down into a nutshell, I would say it's made of ladyfingers, those soft Italian cakey-like cookies, right? Ladyfingers, dipped in coffee, layered with a whipped mixture of eggs and sugar and mascarpone cheese, and it's flavored with a little bit of cocoa. So it's basically got everything I love in there. You want to try and make some?
Yeah. How do we do it?
Yeah. You going to go home and make it this weekend?
I think so.
Yeah, right. Here's what you need. You're going to need about a half a cup of brewed espresso or just very strong coffee. That's really, and you want to get that at room temperature. It doesn't have to be hot. You need about 1/4 of a cup of dry Marsala wine. You're going to divide that. 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. 3 large egg yolks. Have you ever separated an egg?
Not intentionally.
I don't mean on the floor when you dropped it. I mean, it's so easy to do. You can actually crack that egg right into your hand and kind of move it back and forth between your 2 hands and let the egg whites drip between your fingers. And you're left with nothing but the egg yolk in your hand. Oh,
wow. Okay.
Now, you may break a few in the process, but
I'm sure I will.
It's good to learn. So you've got your 3 egg yolks, about 1/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, 8 ounces of mascarpone cheese, okay? About 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream and about 18 to 20 Italian ladyfingers. And you should be able to find that. I can find those at Publix here in Atlanta. I've seen those there. And about 1 ounce of cocoa powder for dusting. That's more to make it pretty because, Joey, it has to be pretty,
well,
too.
Of course. Presentation.
Presentation is everything. So let's whip up some tiramisu. What you're going to do is you're going to combine the espresso or the strong coffee with 2 tablespoons of Marsala wine, okay? You're going to add the vanilla extract and a tablespoon of the sugar in a wide bowl. So what you're going to do now is in a separate bowl, you're going to beat the egg yolks, 2 tablespoons of the Marsala and 3 tablespoons of sugar in a bowl. Now you're going to set that bowl over a pot of simmering water. Basically, Joey, what this is a double boiler, okay? If you own a double boiler, you can use it. If not, you just want to make sure you're using a tempered glass bowl because that will allow it to heat up without cracking, okay? So that's what you've got. You've got those ingredients in the bowl set over a pan of simmering water, and you want to beat that. Now you can beat it by hand or you can use your electric mixer. Okay. But what you want that mixture to do, those egg yolks and the wine and the sugar, it's going to you're going to fluff it up. It's going to triple in volume is what you want. It's going to get nice and fluffy as you beat it. So you're going to remove the bowl from the heat, and then you're going to beat in your wonderful mascarpone cheese, okay, until it's combined. Now, in a separate bowl, you want to whip your cream. Now, I don't know about you. I was raised on Cool Whip.
Oh, yeah, me too. It's easy.
Yeah. It was good enough for me back then. But, I was probably in my 20s before I actually came to realize how wonderful real whipped cream is. The whipping cream, it's not rocket science. You whip it up. And that's what you're going to do in this case. You're going to whip the cream in a bowl until it holds stiff peaks, okay? So it's nice and firm. And once that yolk and mascarpone mixture is cooled down a little, you don't want it real hot, right? Once it's cooled a little, you're going to start folding that whipped cream into the mascarpone mixture. Start with half of the whipped cream, incorporate it, and then add the other half. Let me tell you, you are creating a heavenly, cheesy, sweet, amazing mixture that is the key to a good tiramisu.
Nice.
You got it? All right. So once you've done that, it won't be quite as fluffy. That whipped cream's going to kind of bring it down a little bit. And you're going to all you got to do now is put it all together, Joey. So you're going to take those lady fingers and you're going to take half of them and you're going to dip the lady fingers very quickly into the coffee. That's why you want a wide bowl. So you've got room to set those lady fingers down in there.
So just a quick dip.
Just a quick dip.
Not a swim.
Dip them in. Not a swim. They're not, no, they're not, crossing the English Channel here. Just set them in there, flip them over, dip them on both sides. Cool. And then you're going to line the bottom of a 9-inch square pan. Got it? A baking dish. Okay?
Got it.
All right. Now, what you're going to do with that is when you're putting those lady fingers in the bottom of the pan, in order for them to fit, you might have to break a couple in half just to make them fit nice and tight. Okay? So then you're going to spoon about half of that yummy mascarpone filling over the lady fingers, right? And kind of spread it out in an even layer, right?
Cool.
Then you're going to take that cocoa powder that I told you about. You're going to sprinkle that over the cheese mixture, and then you're going to repeat. Okay, so you're going to dip the other half, the ladyfingers, into the coffee, right? Arrange them in a second layer over the filling, spoon the remaining mascarpone mixture over the ladyfingers, and then dust it with more of that yummy cocoa powder over the top, all right?
Wow.
So we've made 2 complete layers.
Yeah.
Okay, cover it with saran wrap, pop it into the refrigerator. It's going to hang out in the refrigerator for probably an hour or 2. You kind of want those flavors to kind of meld. Remember, there's all that good Marsala wine in the coffee, which is then seeping into those ladyfingers and in the filling. And it's kind of marinating. And it's cool and it's fresh and it's chocolatey. It's really everything you want in a summertime dessert.
Oh my gosh. You know what? Jenny McCormick here in When's World. You got to check out her website. If you like this recipe, you will love it. SouthernSistersHome.com, and keep the conversation rolling and going on Twitter at Jenny McCormick, GINNYMCCORMACK. Jenny, always a pleasure to have you in When's World. Can't wait for next week's recipe.
Great to see you.
We're getting boozy with the beer guy Aaron and the Wens right here in When's World.
Back in When's World and getting boozy with the beer guy at Beer Guy Aaron on Twitter. Welcome back to When's World. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Fantastic. We had the Southern Sister herself, the great Jenny McCormick Earhart, on earlier talking about desserts and some tiramisu. Now, nothing goes better with some dessert than a good dessert beer. Now, what are you putting on the table this week?
Well, hey, listen, if you got tiramisu, what's a traditional drink to have when you're not having a beer? What would you think?
Coffee.
That's exactly right. So what you would want is something that would mimic the profiles of coffee, but also give you a good, nice beer taste with that. So I'm going to go ahead and suggest a good old American stout. Nice. It's got a lot of roasted malt. It gives it a coffee-like aroma, and there also may be a little bit of chocolate or cocoa in there. And so it's a kind of a really low-hoppy type of beer, but it's very malty, it's very dark, it's very black. So you're going to have a really black beer, almost like black coffee, with a nice tan head on it. And you're going to have a lot of that roasted malt flavors. May have initially taste a little bit of burnt coffee or bittersweet chocolate, but that should get out of there pretty quickly, and you'll get a smoother and sweeter chocolate flavor on that. So that's definitely the perfect thing for a good tiramisu.
Nice. Any local brews doing stuff like that?
Yeah, there's several. Really a nice one that I really enjoy is Terrapin. Terrapin's doing a great job with their stouts. One of the ones that I would recommend is they've actually got a 4-pack of single origin coffee stouts, and it's a 4-pack of their stout. And what they did is they roasted that along with 4 different types of coffee beans, one from Sumatra, one from Kona, one from Guatemala and Ethiopia. Wow. Really kicked up that coffee flavor. And if you have that, again, you got a nice coffee stout, but you can also almost do a flight by having a little 2-ounce pours of each one. And it's the same beer base, it's the same stout base, but the 4 different coffee beans on it really give it different flavors. So that's kind of fun to do. Also, Burnt Hickory up in Kennesaw has a Big Shanty Graham Cracker Stout as well. That's a really nice one, nice sweeter taste to that. Creature Comforts has Cocoa Bunny, which is, again, another nice big stout. Nice, sweet, chocolatey flavor to it. It's absolutely beautiful. A nice dessert beer as well. And one that might be a little bit easier for folks to get is the Red Hair Sticky Stout. And that's a classic American stout. We've talked about that before. Again, a really nice roasted malty coffee-like flavor. A really nice, well-done stout by the folks up in Marietta, Red Hair.
Fantastic. So what's your personal preference out of all of those if you had to choose?
Well, honestly, I like a Burnt Hickory Big Shanty Graham Cracker Stout. That's one of my favorites out there. But if I had to choose, really, especially if I was with the group, I'd like to do that Terrapin Coffee Stout Flight. And that's a good way to introduce people to some craft beers. You can still get that on the shelves. I've seen it a few places before, and just maybe buy a couple of 4-packs. Each 4-pack comes with 1 different beer of those the 4 origin coffees that we talked about, and just have a fun time. Like, maybe line up about 4 shot glasses if you don't have taster glasses. Give a couple of ounces of each and have them try it with the tiramisu and see how they taste and what the difference is.
Nice. So what's the ABV content on that Terrapin?
Usually going to have about 7 to 8% ABV on that. So it's not something that you're going to really drink a ton of.
Right.
It's really not supposed to. But it is going to be, again, a nice heavy beer. It's one of those beers that I really kind of end the day with. A good American stout, especially a bourbon barrel aged one at the end of the day. End of the night kind of really is nice for a nightcap.
Oh, that's awesome. And you can get this and a whole lot more. BeerGuysRadio.com. Him and his partner Tim have a show on AM 920 The Answer every Saturday, 1 p.m. Beer Guys Radio. And connect with them again on Twitter at Beer Guy Aaron. Cheers, Aaron.
Cheers.
Robots that can remove batteries from your tummy. right after this break. We are back with Weird Science.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls? Start saving thousands in interest and fees and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
It's your friendly voice of Atlanta traffic, Chris Monroe, and you are in Wynn's World.
From my heart and from my hands, why don't people understand my intentions?
I'm in Wynn's World, and I love it.
Yep, back with Weird Science with my main man, Dr. Fuzz Rana from Reasons to Believe. You can find him on Twitter at RTB_FRANA. Dr. Fuzz, how are you?
Hey, it's great to be with you, Joey. I'm doing well. How about you?
Oh, fantastic. We were rocking and rolling here in Wynn's World. Say, when I was a kid, I swallowed my fair share of Legos and probably some watch batteries along the way. That probably explains how weird and crazy the Wynn's is. But recently, researchers have created a tiny origami robot that you can swallow in a capsule and that can crawl across the Wynn's tummy to remove button batteries or even patch a wound. Dr. Fuzz, this is kind of strange to me. First off, how many of these occurrences actually happen to where they've actually found a practical use for this kind of invention?
Well, believe it or not, this is actually a pretty serious medical problem. And I guess around 3,500, 4,000 people a year on average will swallow these button batteries. Usually people are putting them in their mouth, holding them there as they're changing batteries in some kind of electronic device, and whoops, down the hatch it goes. And it actually can be pretty serious because those batteries give off the hydroxide ion, which is basically the material that's in caustic, and that'll cause the battery to kind of eat away at the esophagus or the stomach lining, and the longer that it's exposed to your tissue, the deeper it gets embedded. And it actually is a pretty serious issue that can cause all kinds of medical problems for people when they do that.
So how big is this robot? I mean, if you're swallowing it in a capsule, how big can it expand to actually accomplish its mission?
Well, this is really cool. This is based on a design that researchers at MIT have been working on for a number of years. And what they do is they actually have three pieces of material that are thin sheets, and the sandwiched sheet, the sheet in the middle, is of a heat-shrinkable material. In this particular robot, they used something called bioolefin, which is basically a wax-like material. And then on the outer sheets, they introduced these slits. And in this particular case, they used basically the skin that you would have on sausages, and they put slits in them. And where they put the slits then allowed the robot to fold up into a really tiny, compact, folded device that they then encased in ice. So with the idea that when you swallow it, the ice will melt and then the robot will unfold. And then they've got a magnet on there that they can direct the movement of that robot externally towards the battery, and then get the robot to pick up the battery.
Wow, so they actually have somewhat of a remote control or something to control the robot, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's basically a magnetic field at this point. Wow. But the idea is, this is kind of a prototype design, but the idea is to eventually increase the sophistication of the robot so that it can actually make decisions on its own and get input from the environment and then respond to that input and then move to where it needs to go.
Well, right now, since you mentioned the magnetic field, what if it's something that isn't metal?
Well, at this point, I don't know that the robot could actually pick it up because it's the magnet that it's using to attach to the battery.
Right.
But the idea is that this is, again, a proof of principle experiment, and so you very well might be able to develop, some way for it to have maybe some sticky material on the surface that would be protected until it gets to the site of, let's say, the Lego, and then it, exposes that sticky material and can attach to it. So, those may be some things that these researchers could do to widen the utility of this particular machine.
Now, since we're at the prototype level, have they even tried it on a real person yet, or is it just on animals so far?
No, they haven't even tried it on animals. They actually made a synthetic stomach from silicone and then filled it with water and lemon juice just to show that the robot could actually go into that stomach and then move around and respond to the magnetic field. And so, and it looks like it works really well, at least in that proof of principle experiment.
And in case you're just joining us, we are with Dr. Fuzz Rana. He is VP of Research and Apologetics at Reason to Believe, and he's authored several books, including Who Was Adam?, Creating Life in the Lab, and The Cell's Design. And his credentials, in case you're wondering, he has a PhD in chemistry with an emphasis in biochemistry from Ohio University. And of course, you can keep the conversation rolling and going on Twitter at @RTB_F Rana. So, Dr. Fuzz, in your opinion, we're in the very early stages of design, the prototype level here. What's the coolest thing, in your opinion, about this invention?
Well, to me, I never cease to be amazed at the creativity of human beings. That as human beings, and we just have this infinite technical inventiveness and creativity. I mean, who would think to use principles of origami to build a robot that could be used in that way? And so, and as a Christian, I look at that creativity as being a reflection of the image of God. Being made in God's image, we are many creators, and you see that being played out in an incredibly amazing way here. And human beings are remarkable in what we can do and how we can solve problems.
So where do you see this ultimately going?
I think it's really opening up a completely different approach to robotics because these designs are extremely inexpensive and rather easy to produce. Within a few hours, you can make these robots now. And so you could see this technology really being expanded to a number of different biomedical applications, wound repair, not only retrieval, but maybe even targeted drug delivery. Let's say somebody has a stomach tumor or a tumor in their intestine. You might be able to use these robots to deliver, materials directly to that tumor as opposed to trying to use traditional means of drug delivery where the whole body is exposed to sometimes pretty nasty materials. So no end, I think, to the potential applications of this kind of technology.
So no dark side potentially to this technology either, or?
Well, I'm hard-pressed to find a dark side to this technology. But again, given human beings, I'm sure somebody could come up with some kind of insidious use of this particular technology. But, the one concern that we always have to be aware of when it comes to new technology, of course, is that while we may intend that technology to solve a particular problem, sometimes technologies can actually have unintended consequences. And we always have to be on guard for that possibility. Because what happens if you've got robots that are doing increasingly sophisticated things that become harder and harder to control, and could they actually do damage to the patient as opposed to actually help the patient? So technology has two sides to it, of course, benefits, but also potential dangers.
So true. We've been with Dr. Fuzz Rana of Reasons to Believe, which can be found online, reasons.org. It's there you can learn a lot more about where faith and science converge. Dr. Fuzz, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for being in When's World again.
Oh, thanks for having me. I always like to come on your show.
Right. Why is love so tricky and complicated? Well, it has a lot to do with our brains, according to author Kate Sukol. We're talking to her after this break. Then, after a week-long sabbatical, we are back with our male soap opera moment. Stay with us.
Hey, this is the Deegs, the sales energizer. And like you, I'm in When's World. It's a frightening place, but we're here. This is what I want you to do. Listen to the show, the whole show, and then when you're done, go to my website, remedysalesmatch.com. Fill out the subscription form for the newsletter, and I will send you a free book that's going to change your life, The Hitchhiker's Guide to Guaranteed Success. Do it after the show.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
Back in Wen's World with one of my favorite residents, author Kate Sukol. How are you?
I am well, thanks. And yourself?
Doing fantastic. You know, last time we spoke, we were still on your book, The Art of Risk, and now we've moved on to another work of yours called This Is Your Brain on Sex, The Science Behind the Search for Love. And I was reading chapter 1 down by the pool last weekend, and I found a lot of really interesting things that you talked about. And one of the overarching themes that I really appreciate your candor and honesty on is how you found and why you found that the study of love can end up being so tricky and complicated.
Right. Well, I'm sure this is probably interesting for you because, you're about to have a child, and that mixes things up. But, I think what's so fascinating is we talk about love as if it's supposed to have one simple path, right? Boy meets girl, you fall in love, you get married, you have 2.2 children, and then you live happily ever after. But of course, we all know that it doesn't work that way. Right. Human beings are tricky. And what people have learned by studying this from a neuroscientific perspective is sort of why it's so tricky. We have these different individual brain areas that work towards different aspects of love. There's sort of three areas, one that works towards attachment, just being attached to somebody, liking having them around. One towards romantic love, those, sort of firework kind of feelings about somebody. And then, of course, there's that old dog sex. And while these three areas of the brain kind of work together and certainly can come and together for one relationship, they often kind of work against each other. And this is why you find every soap opera subplot known to man in the real world. You can have someone you're very attached to, who's been your friend forever, and then all of a sudden, later in life, you think, wait a minute, I think I might be in love with them. Basically every possible permutation of this triangle, can come together, and that's why it's not that easy, and certainly doesn't fit that old, girl meets boy kind of formula.
Now, you mentioned the hormone oxytocin. What role does that play in this whole situation that you just spoke of?
So people talk a lot about oxytocin, and especially in the last few years, people call it the cuddle chemical. It is this, chemical that really promotes pair bonding. But what's interesting is it's not the be-all, end-all. So even as I talk about it, I want you to understand that this is just one chemical that works with dozens, if not hundreds of others to sort of make this very human experience. But what scientists have learned is this particular chemical, which is released when a woman gives birth. It actually is used to strengthen labor contractions and induce, labor sometimes. But what it really does is it promotes attachment. When you hug somebody, when you pet your dog, when you laugh, all these good things sort of release oxytocin and help connect you to other people.
Now, you said it's released during labor. Is this something that makes that bond between a mother and their child even stronger, or is that completely mutually exclusive?
No, it is something that is thought to, and in fact, it's released in excess during breastfeeding, and it's one of the reasons why people believe that when you nurse your child, you're really sort of getting that mother-child bond going. But it's interesting. It's released during orgasm. It's released, like I said, a simple hug, laughter, newness. So it's like I said, people call it the cuddle chemical. It's even been known as the moral molecule. I hate that name because I don't know that it's also moral. But it's really something that's there to help connect us with other people.
Now, early on in Chapter 1, you talk about the mother-child bond potentially being stronger than the husband-wife bond. Now, what role do you think this has played in modern-day society, particularly in America?
So I'm going to take a step back because I don't think that, it's hard to gauge whether it's stronger. Mm-hmm. I think it's very different, and certainly there's a good reason why there needs to be a strong parent-child bond, because once you get a infant home, this like sort of crying, screaming, pooping mess, you need to be bonded to them or you would leave them on the side of the road.
Right.
You'd be like, no. And I mean, when you think about it, a human baby, it's an investment. They don't even start wiping their own butts until they're 2, and you're not going to get them out of the house. Well, these days you won't get them out of the house until they're 35. So, you need to have that bond so you can tolerate having them around. But I think the way that it's sort of worked in American society, and what's been really interesting, is I think we've sort of put this whole child bond above everything else. Mm-hmm. And that's why, I sort of take issue that it's stronger. I think it's very strong, but I think it's different. And it doesn't have to take away from, the husband and wife, or the husband and husband, or wife and wife bond. It doesn't have to take away from the coupledom, or it doesn't have to be a competition, basically. And so much of American parenthood and the way that we talk about, especially motherhood, is if you're not, all in and helicoptering over that child and doing everything for your child at the expense of everything else in your life, you're doing it wrong. And I think that is a big mistake. You can still be very invested in your child, both, socially, emotionally, and neurobiologically, and still have a life outside of that.
Wow, this is great stuff. And in case you're just joining us, we are with author Kate Sukel at Kate Sukel on Twitter, and that's KaytSukel. Here in Wen's World, we're talking about her book, This Is Your Brain on Sex, The Science Behind the Search for Love. Now, you just talked about the mother-child bond and the male-female or romantic couple bond, however that's paired up. And again, we're talking about the first chapter of her book, The Neuroscience of Love. And we found commonality with the prairie vole, right?
So prairie voles, so first of all, you'd probably mistake it for a mouse.
Right.
If you saw this thing scuttering across your floor, you would scream and start, looking for your broom or maybe your gun.
Yeah, right.
But what's really fascinating about prairie voles is that they are socially monogamous. So they find a mate and they stick with that mate for life. But note that I said socially monogamous, because studies have shown, and they've sort of been put up, especially in the neuroscience world and the biology world, as this, bastion of love and fidelity. Alas, when you actually look at prairie voles in the wild, there's still a little bit of playing around going on. And so while they stay committed, they stay attached to their one partner, they occasionally, make visits next door and, crossbreed. So it's an interesting thing to look at. But they're really the animals that have helped us understand the role of oxytocin and how it sort of promotes bonding. And also another chemical called vasopressin, which seems to be involved with that monogamy, having that attachment to one other being for life.
Oh, this is such good stuff. We're with author Kate Sukel, and you can find a lot of cool stuff out about her website, KaytSukel.com. I'm looking at some stuff right now, your work, books. You have a blog, and obviously there are videos and some contact info. And, of course, keep the conversation rolling and going on Twitter at Kate Sukel, KaytSukel. I can't wait. We got to have you back next week to talk about Chapter 2, The Ever-Loving Brain. What do you say?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Awesome. Thanks for your time today, Kate.
Thanks for having me. It's always a lot of fun.
Break!
More beer? Ladies and gentlemen...
Estás escuchando la telenovela masculina con el productor Joey, Shamso y Marquise Davis.
Back with the male soap opera moment with the one, the only, at Shamso84 on Twitter. Woo! And, of course, the great wrestling encyclopedia, a staple to Wins World Radio, at Marquis A. Davis 1.
I am back, people.
He is, man. How's the family doing? You're at home taking care of business?
They're great. Got 5 kids. Everything's going. Let's go on WWE.
And I didn't get that great welcome. Can I get an amazing welcome like Marquis? Gosh, she's only been gone for 3 weeks. Like, come on now.
Moving on to the WWE draft, round 1 took place. The first pick for Raw was none other than
Seth Rollins.
That's right. Seth Rollins, the future champion, and was champion until they stripped the belt from him after Monday night. What a cheesy story they wrote
You
for
know
that
what?
one.
First of all, they should have never, ever even had a title match. Let's not overdo it. I think they're overdoing. They need me. They need me to write the stories.
You're not leaving the show. You're not leaving Wins World, okay? You're not.
I got to go wherever the green is.
Marijuana is not legal in Georgia, Shamso, so
Not
you
yet.
can
Legal at all.
take
Not
that
yet.
somewhere else. You can go to Colorado with that. Marquis, what did you think about the overall draft? We already got the number 1 pick for Raw. Obviously, SmackDown's first pick was the Slobster.
Yeah.
What do you think they're doing with
Dirty
that,
game.
splitting up the Shield in that regard?
Well, I think they are trying to take us away from the mindset of the Shield and what it used to be and what it could be in the future. But they're trying to make us see new angles. That's why AJ Styles is on SmackDown, as well as Dean Ambrose is on SmackDown.
And John Cena.
And John Cena, exactly. So
Well,
now we
they're
can see
into
new things with that.
I mean, I don't understand. I did not like SmackDown's choice. Like, they don't have enough girls, and they're picking people who are in rivalries with each other. John Cena and AJ Styles, I'm over it. Like, I'm done with it. I know the club is on Raw, but it's just too much.
We didn't see a woman picked until the 3rd round, and that was the boss Sasha Banks by Monday Night Raw. Now let's move on to the new COOs for each individual show. Shamso, I know you're a huge Stephanie McMahon fan, so
Says no one ever.
obviously
I support the GOAT.
the goat
Yes.
face.
Yes.
Well, the Yes Movement will be dominating Tuesday nights SmackDown, right?
So weird,
The
yeah.
new general manager.
Mhm.
And of course, Mick Foley, the great Mick Foley, have a nice day, bang, bang. Mankind himself will be the GM for Monday Night Raw. Obviously, this is reminiscent of the Monday Night Wars that took place between WCW and WWE. Marquis, what do you think about this rebrand and where it's going to take the universe eventually?
Well, it all depends on the GMs of each brand. If you got Daniel Bryan being a face, and then if you have Mick Foley as heel, then that would be great. If you have heel Mick Foley being in charge of Raw, which now everyone loves Mick Foley because he is a face and everything, But if you have heel Mick Foley back in the corporate ministries, Mick Foley, when he was evil, old school Mick Foley, that would be great. I mean, because he could do some really good things with Seth Rollins, teaching him, or hardcore, bring back the hardcore title. Why not?
I think that I am more excited to see what the titles will be on SmackDown because they've been sharing one title for both brands for too long, and I'm over it.
Too long.
It's been too long.
So what are they going to do at pay-per-views, though? You're going to have your Raw Championship and your SmackDown Championship?
Well,
I mean,
that's how it was. There was always 2 titles on SmackDown and Raw.
well, there was
Remember that.
the World Heavyweight Championship and then the WWE Champion.
Yeah.
Synonymous with each other. But with this case, are they going to rename them, or what do you
That's
think is
what
going to
I
happen
mean.
there?
They have 2 different brands now,
Yeah.
so I think eventually they're going to get a women's title for SmackDown, a women's title over at Raw. Like it's just you can't share one title. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I guess overall, which brand do you think took the cake during the WWE draft?
I have to
Shamso?
say Raw.
Which brand took the cake last time they had a draft? Raw.
Raw always gets that bump.
And I will be there on August 1st. Whoop, whoop.
And that's true. They're coming to the great city of Atlanta August 1st, Monday Night Raw. Shamso will be sitting front row.
I hope.
Right next to the tie-dye guy.
And I get to meet Sheamus.
And you're going for the meet and greet.
You get to meet a C-grade wrestler. Good
I
job.
don't care. It's free. I won. I didn't have to pay for it. If it's for free, it's for me.
Free 30, free 99.
Yeah.
It doesn't. You don't even have to. You will get more enjoyment at home watching it on television. Than
Did you
would
hear the
actually
word
being
free?
there. Okay.
Free.
Wow.
2 tickets.
You know what? I've been going for 3 weeks. I come back to this with Shamso.
Yep.
Oh my God! I think we should probably bring back COA.
I think COA is missing in action. He's MIA.
Yeah. But anyway, in regards to wrestling, as opposed to just ringing bells and being a mark all of the time,
I'm
Shamso,
sorry. I have to go
Raggy.
do some work.
And I guess that's all the time we have for this edition of Male Soap Opera Moment. Till next time, I bid you adieu.
Hey, this is Dave Bray, America's Patriotic Rocker. Just giving you a shout out. Make sure you stay tuned and listen in to K98 Talk.
The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
Oh, the world wouldn't be the same without laughter and happiness. And to bring When's World just that is the great Mike Loftus. Mike, how are you today?
I'm good, man. I'm having a very awesome day. Getting things done, taking names.
That's right. We're kicking butt and taking names here in When's World. I'll tell you what, Mike Loftus is doing big things. TheLoftusParty.com. Connect with him on Twitter at Flipside Loftus. It's there where you can find the Daily Dose, which is basically the news story of the day, but with Mike Loftus's hilarious spin to it. Right, Mike?
That is exactly what we got.
And then you can get podcasts. He has a whole bunch of cool stuff on there, merch, just a really cool website. And again, on Twitter at Flipside Loftus. So the latest news is the RNC convention, obviously, where the presumptive GOP nominee will be named this Thursday night. Donald Trump made a kind of an early appearance, and it's no secret that Melania Trump was on stage basically saying similar things to Michelle Obama back in 2008. And Mike Loftus, I went ahead and made just a quick little snippet montage of the thoughts that came to my mind as this whole thing unfolded. So without further ado,
speeches only reaches those who already know about it. This is how we go about it.
Barack and I were raised with so many of the same values, like that you work hard for what you want in life. That your word is your bond, that you do what you say. That you treat people with respect. We want our children in this nation to know that the only limit to your achievement is the strength of your dreams and your willingness to work for them.
What if God was one of us? Just a slob like one of us.
It's disgusting. Do you want that for your president? I don't think so.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah.
Dr. Evil, that was fantastic.
Thank you, number 2.
I wrote that. Yeah.
Because I wrote it and with a little help as possible. So.
Oh, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends.
Would it be fair to say that much of her speech sounded a lot like Michelle Obama's speech back at the DNC in 2008, Mike Loftus?
Yes, it is fair to say. It's fair to say that someone was a big fan. That they probably said, I wonder what Michelle Obama said when she did this 8 years ago. And they're like, ooh, that part's good. Plagiarism.
Well, that's what bugs me, right? So just own it. When she's talking to Matt Lauer in the Trump Force One, basically saying, oh, I wrote that. Yeah, much like Dr. Evil with What If God Was One of Us. Kind of steals away from the Trump legacy and credibility factor. What say you, Mike Loftus?
Well, here's the point it makes to me. Like that speech was Michelle Obama's. That's hers, right? Mm-hmm. That belongs to her. You just can't take something that's not yours, which ironically is why I don't like the Democrats. Like, this is my money, and they want to take it to use it for their own purposes. So I find it kind of ironic that, like, the Democrats are all, you can't just take something that doesn't belong to you. See, right now you know how I feel every day of my life.
I love that. That makes a lot of sense. At Flipside Loftus on Twitter. So what you're saying is Melania is doing what Trump is fetching about the Democratic Party, which is taking what's his and just dispersing it to everybody in America.
That's right. It's why we don't want Bernie Sanders. They're talking about redistribution of wealth. They want to take all of our speeches and use our speeches for whatever they want. I just love the hullabaloo because, like, if you go to YouTube and Google or look up Barack Obama stolen speeches, you'll find a bunch of stuff. Yeah, he took stuff from Illinois senators. Everybody does it. And here's the deal: like, they know now that Melania had help with the speech, and she didn't write it, but like a friend of hers, a former ballerina, so someone who's not a professional writer obviously stepped in And, it looks bad. No one likes a thief. It's what the Democrats are doing. They're professional thieves.
So, all right, let's just take it back to the core issue here. At what point don't we look at Melania and just say, really? I mean, you obviously didn't write that speech. And look, I'm not a Hillary fan. I'm just a fan of truth, right? So if she's going to sit here and talk about, oh, I wrote that with just a little bit of help from my friends, probably not there, Melania. You're gorgeous, but you're not a good liar.
Right. Well, she had help from her friends. English is her fifth language. If she did 50% of the speech, I would be shocked. I'd be absolutely shocked. So, I kind of think she tried to do the stand-up thing and go, yeah, I did it. It's on me. Because, listen, when something like this happens, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If they go, wow, Melania, that was a stolen speech. Who wrote that? If she goes, it was her, and, points to somebody else, then she's throwing her friend under the bus. It's just awkward and uncomfortable. It's just so selective. It just makes me laugh hysterically. You've got, the head of the FBI says that Hillary Clinton is guilty of this. She's guilty of that. For 13 minutes, the head of the FBI says that Hillary Clinton is guilty, guilty, guilty. No one bats an eye. And then Melania Trump lifts 30 seconds from a speech 8 years ago, and everybody's like, whoa, this is a crime.
I hear
Let's
you.
Stop the world and talk about this.
I think there is
Are you kidding me?
A great deal of hypocrisy.
This is what we're worried about?
I totally agree with you. I think you made a very valid point because you know what? There is a mass hysteria right now over this. I think the problem is that what you addressed at the very beginning at Flipside Loftus on Twitter, the thing that bothers you about this is that Trump and his wife did the same thing that they're complaining about the Democrats doing. So to a lot of people, it's like, well, he's no different than the people he says he hates, right?
What? No. You can't equate this at all. If anything, Melania Trump is guilty of being incredibly naive. We live in an age where Melania and you and your friends that help you out with speeches, you can't just lift hunks anymore because people can instantly go back and fact check. There's plagiarism program. Donald Trump's kid gave a speech, and there was a hunk in that. There was a hunk in his speech that said America used to be an elevator to success. And now that elevator is stuck on the ground floor. It's like the old Soviet department stores, blah, 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 blah. And somebody ran that speech to their plagiarism software, and they're like, ha, we got you. This is just like an article written a month ago in the National Review. Oh, it's plagiarism city. Well, slow your roll, because the guy who wrote that article in the National Review helped out Donald Trump's kid with his speech, and he gave it to him. So it wasn't plagiarism. It was like, hey, here you go. Use this hunk. I'm the author of the speech. It's not plagiarism if I wrote it, if you wrote both things.
I definitely think it's low-hanging fruit. What's definitely the fruit that the Democrats are picking out right now is the fact that a lot of the states are walking out. And Trump isn't even getting the support from Ted Cruz. I mean, the convention's come and gone by the time the K98 family hears this. Ted Cruz will have already not given Trump his endorsement. So what's on Cruz's mind? He's obviously looking ahead to 2020.
Oh, I know exactly what Ted Cruz is going to do. Ted Cruz is going to set himself up for the next cycle. He's going to set himself up for 2020.
If there was a professional wrestler that you could akin to the likeness of the great Donald Trump, who would it be based off his entrance into the RNC convention a couple days back?
Oh, my gosh, I just forgot the guy's name, the dead guy, The Undertaker. That was the best entrance ever. The only thing that would have been better is like when Donald was standing there in silhouette, if the James Bond music would have started playing. That would have been the best. And then he would have done the old gun thing. It would have been awesome.
You know, Donald does kind of have that wrestler entertainment appeal. I mean, he's very vocal. He's not a...
He's done WWE.
Yeah, I remember
he's actually had time in the ring.
There was a match back in the day. This is WrestleMania several years ago, where there was a I'm going to shave your head match where Donald Trump picked a wrestler to represent him, and then Vince McMahon did the same. And of course, McMahon's wrestler lost, so McMahon had to have his head shaved because, Donald Trump, that ferret isn't going anywhere. That hair is there to stay.
Yeah.
I just love the insight that the great Mike Loftus puts on every point that comes up, and I love that about you. I'm serious, man. I think you're fantastic. And guys, in case you're just joining us, we are with the great Mike Loftus at Flipside Loftus on Twitter, and you got to check out his website, man. Tons of cool podcasts, awesome merch, and the Daily Dose. And go over what the Daily Dose is one more time for the rest of When's World.
We kind of randomly pick like 4 or 5 stories every day. I mean, who knows? I mean, one day it could be Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, and hey, there's a new trailer for Star Wars Rogue One. It's always like it's pop culture, it's politics, it's weird stuff. We support small businesses. We do a lot of stories about microbreweries. And we do a lot of stories about single malt scotch. You throw some booze in with some politics. You sprinkle generously with some nudity. You're in good shape.
I smell a bar fight coming on.
That is correct. That is correct.
Mike, it's always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. Have a great day, man. Let's do it again very soon.
Absolutely. Friends, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this installment of When's World. We'll have a brand new episode all set for you very soon. Until then, have a great week.
Excellent!